Hello, and welcome to Unity Church on the Mountain from my home. The title of the talk today is What is My Life? But before the talk, let's begin by affirming together the opening statement. There is only one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God. Breathe. Breathing in a little slower and a little deeper than normal. Releasing. Breathing in life. Relaxing, releasing. We exhale. Breathing in. And release. As we release, we let go of anything that is blocking that flow of spirit through us. So breathing in and release. Let us affirm together our Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. So what do we mean by a title of a talk? What is life? Specifically, what is my life? If we think of what is my life in terms of a biography, if you pick up just about any biography off of the bookshelf at your favorite library or bookstore, and you open it up and begin to read, you'll see a story about the things that happen in a person's life, where they were born, where they went to school, what they did, what events took place in that person's life. But is that their life? Sometimes you can pick up an autobiography. And yes, you'll still hear those events, where they were born, what they did. But you may also hear what motivated certain decisions. What was their reaction to certain events? And when I say, what is my life? For me, my life is my inner experience of all of those events that I have encountered through the years that make up my life. It is the internal story. The ways that my consciousness has reacted to what happened outside of myself or to me. Like when I broke my finger, this finger, playing football. So, we have this inner experience, and we all have it. We're not always aware of it to the same degree. So where are we going with this? I'd like to start with a quote from Matthew. And again, as usual, I'm reading from the Lamsa translation, from the Aramaic words that Jesus spoke. So I'm in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, and I'd like to start reading a few verses at verse 19. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures buried in the ground, a place where rust and moth destroy, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves a treasure in heaven, where neither rust nor moth destroys, and where thieves do not break through and steal. For where your treasure is, there also is your heart. Now, what does it mean to say, lay up your treasures in heaven? I've talked quite a bit about the idea of kingdom of heaven as Jesus taught it. And that when I went to Sunday school, we were really taught that heaven was a place we go when we die. And I'm not saying that that's not true. But I think what Jesus was talking about when he said kingdom of heaven is something different than that. The kingdom of heaven is an upgrade to our operating system. It's a different way of seeing life. It's a different type of thought. Normally, we are moving around. Our thoughts are in our head. We are thinking from our head. We're seeing from our head. But when we move to seeing from our heart, our outlook changes. This is the path to the kingdom of heaven. So if I don't lay up treasures where thieves can break in, but instead I lay up treasures in heaven, what do I mean? Let's think about that line in the Lord's Prayer. Give us this day our daily bread. Do you think Jesus was only talking about bread? Or was bread a symbol of something a little more? So, at the most literal level, give us our daily bread means, okay, give me that Wonder Bread, or that 7-grain bread, or that whole wheat bread. But give us that physical bread to eat each day. Taking it the next step, that bread can be our meal, the food that we require for a day. Now, when we say food, we normally think about that solid substance that we put in our mouth, chew, and swallow. What about drink? That's something that we need every day. In fact, it won't be many days that if we don't have water, we can go a whole lot longer without solid food. But if we go without water, we're going to run into problems a lot sooner. So, we'll include water. Well, what about air? That's a food. We don't normally think of it as a food, but we can't go very long at all without air. And it's required for our bodily functions. It is nourishment. Maybe it vibrates at a different level than solid food. Just like liquid food vibrates at a different level than solid food. And then air vibrates at a different level than liquid food. But we need air as our nourishment. Let's take one more step. What else is food? As we read and think about spiritual truth, these truths, the affirmations that we make in our affirmative prayer process, the spiritual texts that we like to read to nourish our being, that is also food. When we lay up treasures in heaven, we are gathering this spiritual food. And it doesn't only come from things that we read. In fact, I think there's another step up, and I want to talk about that today. And we get it from our life. You see, what is my life? My life is a series of responses to external stimuli. Things happen, and then I respond. I think in a certain way, or I feel in a certain way based on something that happened. You might say it's a trigger. We get into habits. We have learned these things since we were children, these habitual ways that we respond. Certain things happen, they trigger a certain response. It doesn't have to be that way. Those are things that we can change. Our response we can change. We can't always change the external trigger. But what that trigger does to us is ours. It's ours to control. We have certain techniques that we teach in Unity. We have our affirmative prayer process. We have affirmations and denials. If I find myself in an error state of consciousness, where my mind is going over and over and over with something that I know is tearing me down instead of lifting me up, then I can say, no, not this. The denial. Just that simple. This is not the truth of who I am. And then turn it around with an affirmation. I am a child of God. I am spirit. Or just simply, I am. When we take that deep breath, that deep and slow breath in, I am, there's a change that happens. And I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to try it out. Look at those things that happen through your daily life. And don't put it off. Begin it. You might even do it now. Is there something I'm saying that may be a trigger for you? Take that deep breath and see what's going on in your consciousness. What are the things? You can think about this. What are the things in my life that happen and that I normally respond to in a certain way? What if I get behind a slow driver on a 2-lane road and I can't pass? Are there certain thoughts or feelings that start going through my consciousness? This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Just noticing what is going on. When we begin to put our spiritual tools to use to change our consciousness, remember, be renewed by changing your consciousness. Renew yourself by a change in your consciousness. When we struggle with that, when we go through these yes-no processes, there is an alchemical fire that is caused by this friction. This is the fuel to renew our mind, to renew our consciousness. When we do this, our energy level begins to increase. That finer food. Remember, there's the solid food, the liquid food, the air we breathe, the thoughts we think, and then there's this next finer food that comes from this struggle within, this conscious struggle to bring ourselves back to center, to bring ourselves back to center from head to heart. This is putting up treasures in heaven. That's why life is our teacher, because life is certainly our teacher. I am not the teacher. I am the finger pointing towards the teacher. The teacher lies within us. Spirit is within us, and Spirit is our only teacher. And Spirit is what is all around us, not only in us, but among us. This kingdom of heaven. And we experience it in our life. I want to give you an example, something that happened to me Saturday morning as I was waiting in line at a fast food place to get breakfast for my wife and I pulled into the parking lot and the line was extremely long. There was even 2 lines and they were about to wrap around the building. But we wanted that biscuit, so I got in line. As the line moved, I noticed that there was a truck up in front of us, in front of me in the line, that had a trailer on the back. It was a trigger. Ching! And as I think back on it, probably the long line helped put me in a state that was closer to being triggered. And when I saw this truck with the trailer, trigger. And I thought, who gets in line at a drive-through with a trailer on their truck? And almost immediately, I noticed what was going on. I took my deep and holy breath, and I let it go. Because there's nothing that's wrong with them being in line with a trailer. I mean, really. That was just my response. But it was an opportunity. I recognized it, maybe because I was going to be given this talk, but I recognized it as this is an example of how life can teach me. It gave me the opportunity to go off center and begin to go into this judgment, to notice that I was in judgment and move myself back to big love and acceptance. I hadn't even got to the speaker yet, and I had another opportunity. There was another truck that was sitting there at the speaker giving their order, and I noticed they were reading off of a piece of paper and it had a lot of writing on it. And I thought, who does that? They're getting food for an army right there. This is going to take forever. So there I went into judgment again, and I noticed it. See, because that's the first step of any of this, is to become aware. So becoming aware that here I went into judgment again, putting to use whatever spiritual tool it is that you need in that moment. For me, a lot of times it's just that prayer of the heart that I've been practicing for so many years. I don't even have to think about it. I take that deep breath, it comes through me, and okay, I'm okay. I noticed that what happened. And that's when I had the thought that these are opportunities that I can talk about when I give my talk tomorrow. So life, the things that happen, the events of our life that happen on the outside are our teacher. They occur so that we can have an opportunity to observe our inner life, where our life really happens. Our life really happens inside of us. And it's this life that we can change by renewing. We change our thoughts to renew our consciousness. I'd read that, but I can't remember. I think it's Romans. It might be somewhere else. I'll look it up for next time. So, the opportunity that we can have this week is to observe ourselves. Are there things that we can think of in advance? Say, okay, well, when this situation happens, I get triggered and I go into a certain state. So we can review our knowledge of how we are and see and allow that to be a trigger. A different kind of trigger now. Because when we see it happening, now you let it trigger our awareness of it. To make us more aware that when this normally happens, I normally go into such a state. Like, okay, normally when I get behind a slow driver who's in the left lane, I get a certain state. Maybe I get angry. So now when I encounter that person in the left lane going slow, I can say, okay, now's my opportunity. Where did my mind go? Am I angry? Oh, I am. I'm feeling tense in my shoulder, or whatever that is for you. Welcoming practice might be a great thing to do here. Or, of course, there's always denials and affirmations. But whatever it is, whatever spiritual tool you want to put to use, taking a deep and holy breath, sometimes that's all we need to bring us back to center. And it feels good. The song I'd like to sing for you is one that I wrote. It's called Traveling on Your Way. Doesn't that sound a lot like life? Because life is a journey. And that journey is our teacher. Our life is here as to present us with opportunities to grow spiritually. Our life is our teacher because Spirit makes it so. Spirit working through us. We attract to ourselves just what it is that we need right now. Sometimes we ignore it over and over again. We ignore those gentle and easy lessons until that Spirit within us decides that we need something a little harder. So I am grateful for gentle, easy, and fun lessons in my life. Let's see how loud. All right. The song is Traveling on Your Way. Waves roll on in oceans of sound. Wheel keeps turning and going around. Silently hearing the sound in the field. Listen for truth, the truth of the wheel, while you're walking along by the side of the road. Singing this song is the key to the code. Righting a wrong in the course of the day. Singing this song, traveling on your way. Destiny sings in the song that you hear. Whispers of wisdom fall on your ear, but pretending to know. A wolf in sheep's clothing keeps blocking the flow. I am walking along by the side of the road, singing this song is the key to the code. Righting a wrong in the course of the day. Singing this song, traveling on your way. Problems arise on this bumpy old road, struggling to choose and to carry the load. But hear the birds sing in their free-hearted song. Sing it yourself for all the day long, while you're walking along by the side of the road. Singing this song is the key to the code. Righting a wrong in the course of the day. Singing this song, traveling on your way. So I invite you, become aware of the inner states as you go through your day. Become aware, what is in my consciousness? Where am I placing my attention right now? What lesson does life have for me in this event? Let us affirm together our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love. The power of God protects us. I am the power. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is. And all is well. Thank you so much.